Alright, since scouting plans were ruined this morning by super heavy rains and really cold temperatures, I figured it would be the perfect day to attempt to make some wing bone calls. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump right into it. What a roller coaster of a season it has been. Came in downwind, it actually winded me. If you don't recognize this thing, this is the buck boiler. I got a video that I will link right up here about how you can make one of these for yourself. They're perfect for doing Euro mounts, or in this case, wing bone calls. I've had this heating up for a minute, and these are some wing bone calls that I pulled off of a gobbler and a jake that I killed last year. And if you want to see a really good video about how to get these wing bones off the turkey, Catman Outdoors has a video on exactly how to do that. I'll try to throw that in a link in the description below. But basically, I'm just going to put these in here for 2 hours or so, and then come back and clean them off. So. It has been just about 2 hours, so I'm going to grab those calls and let them cool for a second and then clean them up a little bit. Put them back in if needed. If not, I'll let them dry for just a second. So I took these things out, I sprayed them with a hose real good to one, cool them down, and two, knock off anything that was really big on there. And I'm now just going to take a flat tip screwdriver, a knife, and a set of needle nose and clean these off as good as I can. And then if they look like they might need to go back into the boiler for just a little bit. These things are to the point now where a lot of the fat is rendered off them, so I'm going to saw the ends of them off of there and start cleaning on them. But I'm going to pour them out because I'm assuming they're pretty hot. And that is what we're left with. So now that these things have came out of the boiler, I'm going to continue cleaning them. But before I do that, I'm basically just going to saw the ends off of each one where they're supposed to be sawed at, and I think that's going to make the rest of the cleaning process easier. Instead of the meat getting hung up on these bones as they kind of flare back out, it'll give them an edge to fall off of. So. Alright, we boiled them, took them out and cleaned them, boiled them again, took them out, cut them to size, cleaned them, and they're just about ready to be whitened now. I'm going to give them one final cleaning in the kitchen sink with a wire brush and a nozzle just to make sure there's no marrow in them or anything like that. And then we're on to whitening them and gluing them together. So I got about 3 hours in them so far. Most of that time is just waiting for them to boil down to get, the stuff that's on them soft enough to knock them off easy. And I would definitely recommend a Dremel for cutting those because using a hacksaw is for the birds. But I'm going to wash these up and let them dry, and then after that we'll whiten them. Back at it again on these wing bone calls this morning. I've got all of these kind of assembled and just kind of put together. They're not glued. I was just seeing what pieces fit into what bone. And this one is the only one that's giving me some problem, so I'm going to have to like whittle down on this. But basically my plan for today is I've got a Dremel, and I'm going to resize some of these reeds because they're a bit too long, and I was reading the shorter you make the reeds, the higher the pitch these are. And by blowing into some of these, I think they're going to be pretty lower pitched. And then some of them just need cut down so that they fit better, because that one kind of flares out. And then once I do that, I'm going to take this drill bit, and I'm going to clean the inside of these out. Make them look real pretty. I'm going to sand the edges of them, and after that, I'm going to whiten them. I'm going to use the same whitening process that I did in my Euro mount videos. I will link them here. And basically that just involves Salon Cure 40 and some baking soda to thicken it up. And then I paint them, and I let them sit on plastic for an hour or so, and that should whiten them right up. So I'm going to get started on that. And you want to avoid cutting on this top piece. There's a section of the bone that is really flat, and I don't know if you can see that really well in the video. But that's going to be your mouthpiece, the one that has the really flat side. So you don't want to cut on that one. You want to cut on the other one if you're going to make it shorter. And these guys here, the bigger side actually goes up, and the smaller side is the one that actually slides into the bone below it, where the trumpet part is. So again, you want to make sure you're cutting on the smaller side, this one here, when you do these. So that grindstone wasn't working very well for knocking the heavy stuff out. This is what one looks like before you touch it. I've had really good luck taking these needle nose pliers and grabbing some of this stuff and like twisting because it's really loose in there, and then taking the flathead screwdriver and kind of turning this stuff that's kind of stuck to the walls of it off. And I've been getting them pretty clean just by doing that. This is one that I just finished. And so I'm just going to continue doing that, taking these needle nose pliers, grabbing it and twisting that stuff. And you don't want to put a whole lot of torque on it because it is bone and it can crack. But that stuff that's really loose, it's like a webbing, you just get that on there, and then you twist it a little bit, and then as you open up new little crevices and stuff inside there, you can then take your flat tip screwdriver and just bring it in there and twist it a little bit, and that stuff will twist right off of there. You can hear it kind of crunching and cracking. I am finding so far that if you do anything with bone, Euro mounts, turkey bones, that a needle nose screwdriver and needle nose set of pliers and a flat tip screwdriver seem to be the ticket on all that stuff. And just like that, we're pretty clean. So now I'm going to clean them up with that little stone bit. All right, we're to the whitening phase. I'm just going to put a little bit, because it shouldn't take a lot, of this Salon Cure 40 into a cup. And I'm going to thicken it as much as I need to with baking soda to where that gel stays and hangs on there for a good bit. Okay, here is the finished product. So since the last time I saw you in the video, what I did was I took all the bones, and some of them, I tried to whiten them, and some of them still wouldn't whiten. So I actually took and soaked them in an old pot with some Dawn dish soap in it, and that brought a lot of the grease on these things out. And what I did with this one in particular is I took a little bit of Gorilla Glue, and you can kind of see it in some of the joints right here, because I haven't cleaned it all off yet, but I took some Gorilla Glue and I put this one together, and I picked Gorilla Glue because it actually expands as it dries, so it covered any gaps in here that there might have been. And this is what we got. This was actually my worst bones. I took the 3 worst bones I had and put them together for kind of like a little test run on this. And the other 3 calls I've actually pumped the brakes on, because I've got a buddy that thinks they can put a really nice epoxy finish on it. We were looking at some really high-end wing bone calls online, and he thinks he can replicate some of that. So look for that video in the description of this video in the future. But this is what we came up with, and this ended up being one of the Gobbler, because I killed a Gobbler and a Jake last year. This ended up being the Gobbler bone. And these things take a little bit of skill to use. I'll give you a little test about what it sounds like. I'm still toying with the sound on this, but they're definitely harder to use than I first thought. But that's the finished product. If this helped you guys out, if you liked the video, make sure you like this video and that you subscribe to the channel because I got more content coming out all the time. Make sure you check out my other turkey videos. I got a calling video out. I got a video out on a jake hunt that I had last year, and then I've got tons more coming in the future. So make sure that you're also on the lookout for the finishing video. I'm definitely going to put out a video later on how to finish one of these calls once I figure it out. But like I said, hope this helped you guys out. See you in the next video.